Your San Jose Sharks take down their Desert Dog rivals in their debut at Mullet Arena. We'll break down the victory. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Are you on Team Tank or on Team at least try to get to the playoffs and make it look respectable? And we'll keep an eye on the Barracuda for you right now. This is Teal Town After Dark. Good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday night, January 10th, 2023. The San Jose Sharks are victorious as they defeat the Arizona Coyotes 4-2 in Tempe. We welcome you to this edition of Teal Town After Dark. This is your live interactive Sharks postgame. We do this after every game, so if you want to be part of the show, chat with us and fellow Sharks fans all over the world and in Sharks territory on the YouTube page or on the app. Of course, follow us on the social Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud, Reddit, Discord, TikTok, and find everything at tealtownusa.com. Of course, if you want to support the pod, you can always hit us up on Venmo at tealtownusa or on a YouTube Super Chat. And it is a triple cast tonight, gang. Let's say hello first to Felix Chow, who's muted.
What up? Sorry. Once again, I need to make sure I am unmuted, but seriously, what is up, y'all?
Sharks victory is what's up. Of course, the guy in San Diego who spells his name the right way, Eric Landi.
Just when we thought we would get a better draft, they go and they ending a season series, hold tiebreakers now. It's got me frustrated.
All right. So this should be an interesting one. Of course, when the guys talk, they decide to disappear when the other one's not talking. So bear with us through this. We'll get through it. Interesting one. Amazing how that works out. All right, get going in here. We get the debut of Mikey Eyssimont. Sveshnikov sits this one. Vlasic goes to his non-traditional point in on the right side. Interesting. But we get going, and then, you know what? First 5 minutes, it's usually been the Sharks that give up the first goal, but Felix, Labanc makes it 1-0, kind of working through like 3 or 4 Desert Dogs there.
Yeah, I think he basically went to the net and got one up top, and, good things happen when you go to the net, so.
That made it 1-0. Unfortunately, less than 2 minutes later, Hayton would get his 4th of the year for the Coyotes. Landi, that one was a tough one, too, along with the one that made it 2-1 when Fisher basically had a breakaway and kind of split the defense a little bit.
Yeah, on this one, I wasn't really happy with the Sharks' defensive positioning. Kind of felt like they gave the point up a little bit too easily, and then they weren't able to really confront the man that had the puck. You could also say maybe Kahkonen's being a little, caught a little off guard there. He's trying to move laterally left to right, so he's got a challenge, an uphill challenge trying to make that lateral move. But as you saw, he was so far out that he wasn't able to really get good, a good grip on the ice to make a good push over. So, yeah, there were some things that I think he needs to kind of clean up still. Again, it's a goaltender who every night, that he gets to start, I'm just kind of having a microscope out for this guy and trying to analyze things like body language, trying to analyze things like, where exactly his positioning is, if he hunches his shoulders or if he keeps his shoulders up, the way in which he fronts pucks. So with him, it's an inconsistent season, and thought a little shaky at the beginning, but I think kind of settled in. and was able to right the ship a little bit more, but not really his best first period of the year.
No, like you said, a little shaky. You saw some 36 versus 36 action there. Fisher with the goal to make it 2-1. That's how it would end after the first period. Felix, let me ask you on the debut of Mikey Esimont. Tries to gets a couple of scoring chances. Later on, gets a breakaway in this game. Gets into a fight, which But what did you think of the new guy wearing 21?
I've noticed him honestly tonight. Excuse me. But like he's been all over on the net. He's gotten his chances. He even believe he had even had a breakaway chance later on in the game, and like it's I've liked what I've seen in him honestly.
Yeah, I also wanted to echo that too, Felix. Felt that, really Esimont had a really good energy about him. I felt the podcast pointed him out multiple times in that first, and it looked like a guy who wanted to have a good first one with his new. So for me, I thought Esimont was definitely more of a plus than I originally had thought he could be.
Yep. Moving on into the second period, I thought after the Sharks had a really strong first, Arizona kind of took it over with their pair of goals, but they get it back. Nico Sturm with with a nice move. He almost looked like a blind pass from Bonino to tie this one up at 2-2. Nico Sturm getting his 10th of the season. Definitely a nice look there from Sturm, Felix, and especially overall in the second period. I thought they stayed with it definitely looked like a promising second period in a period that I thought they really dominated.
They definitely got their good looks, and I thought I agree with you. I thought they played well in the second period, and they got their chances, but they just didn't quite get one on the board yet. So
no, and I like the it seemed like more of the depth guys were playing tonight, meaning I felt that the lower lines, Nico Sturm and Bonino, I thought that they played a really good game tonight, and for the first time actually a third line well against another team's line. Now it is the Arizona Coyotes, right? And the broadcast made it a point to say an evenly matched teams. So
Sad but true.
they're not wrong. But it was nice to see a line that could play some confident minutes versus a line always being caved in upon itself.
But it's interesting to see what David Quinn did, and I'm curious about the quotes that eventually come out of the locker room. But Kevin Labanc had a goal. He got the 10th of the year. Then he took a bad penalty in the first and then sat half the second period. Landy, I'll start with you while I go grab my phone really quick because I don't have it with me. But what do you think was going on there? Was there a message being sent? Why is he getting, I guess we can start calling it the Merkley treatment?
Can you repeat that?
No, I was just saying, Kevin Labanc has a goal.
Oh, Labanc.
Assist. Then he takes a bad penalty, doesn't play half of the second period. I wonder what the message is sent.
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely right there with the message sending. Quinn show key moments of accountability and try to really instill that it's a meritocracy where you've got to earn your playing time. You have to be accountable when you make mistakes. I thought that Kevin Labanc despite scoring that goal, took a little bit of, took a little bit of a selfish penalty, and I think that definitely went to why he was benched for the half of a period. And is it? I don't think it's too out of the realm of a move there for Quinn to make to send a not so subtle message that, hey, these kind of penalties, taking these penalties takes away from your overall game, from what you be doing and what you should be doing on the ice, which is possessing the puck. If you've got the puck in that situation, you're not going to be taking a puck. And again, maybe some more buy-in on the defensive end for Labanc. Liked his offensive capability this year. I felt that he's really embraced taking better shots. So I think really embraced the idea that he needs to be more of a sniper's line than being a facilitator, especially playing with a guy like Hurdle, who's kind of a facilitator first kind of player. For me, at least, it's a good little shot among the bat. It's a shot across the bat. Selfish penalties get you rewards.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you earn your ice time, right? So you wanna, like you said, it's a meritocracy. So you gotta, even though Labanc did have that goal, it's sort of like a reminder, hey, you can't just sit back just because you scored a goal, tonight. You gotta earn it. Every shift, you gotta play hard. You gotta play responsibility, and so, excuse me.
Whoa. You're good.
Excuse me. Yeah.
You're getting
I'm
so
good.
choked up after this victory, but it's all right, man.
Yeah, no, but in all seriousness, I think that Labanc has shown tremendous offensive potential, and he's shown to be a shooter, but like I said, you gotta also keep in mind of the other aspects of your game, and I think that's the message that Quinn is trying to show, it's trying to show Kevin Labanc here. And so yeah, I think if he improves in those other areas as well, I think that'll be message sent and message received.
Yeah, I mean, Felix, just not be a net minus defensively on your line, right? I think if you can just play steady defense here, I mean, most wingers are not expected to do a lot of the heavy defensively, but if you at least not be a net minus defensively, then I think you're in good shape as a winger.
Right.
Yeah.
So with that, after 2 periods, it was 2-2. Get into the third period, and boy, if you hadn't gotten your Oreos and milk right then and there, or your nice favorite beverage or such, you would have to see that Matt Nieto, the Long Beach native, gets his 8th of the year. But Felix, this one very nice play by Barabanov defensively.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and not to mention Barabanov getting in on that forecheck. I mean, that was, and we know that Barabanov is capable of that on the offensive, and to see him on the forecheck and to help out on the play for Matt Nieto to get that lead for the Sharks is it was nice to see.
Yeah, and I also liked what Couture was doing too on that. I thought Couture was really waiting to the right, send that puck across, and really get the goaltender kind of moving laterally in the crease, because that's the name of the game. If you can if you can get a goaltender moving laterally and having to go from side to side, that's gonna be your best bet to expose his weakness. So again, Couture doing a nice job setting it up for Matt Nieto, kind of putting him in a place to bury a puck in an empty net. So really nice awareness there from Barabanov, like you had said, Felix. I think Barabanov really just spots Couture, when he's got his almost his back to the half board there, and is able to get the pass into Couture, who Couture is able to then wait out the goaltender just that little bit. Yeah, Matt Nieto carries it in a 5-by-6.
And that made it 3-2 Sharks. That would eventually be the game-winning goal. Then you'd have Magna take a penalty just 26 seconds and just to basically try to give the Desert Dogs a chance to tie this thing up. It doesn't happen. But I mentioned that penalty because it eventually leads to redemption from Magna. He gets his first of the year, beautiful one-timer set up by who else? EK65, starting once again a new point streak. He's at 1. On this one, but boys, right off the draw, and grips it and rips it.
Yeah. I mean, I think really Carlson doing a nice job placing it, on the tee for Magna, on the one timer. But I think also Labanc is kind of an hero in this one. He's able to kind of fish the puck out of the that ongoing face-off, and was able to kick it out to Erik Karlsson to kind of start the play off. So I like that, especially after the benching too. And that message to be on defensive draws, to really add a little bit more hustle and effort into your game. I think came back and paid off on that goal.
Yeah, for sure. And, face-off wins are just so important, especially like when you're trying to gain possession of the puck. And, face-off wins, Sharks have that play ready, and, it's the rest is history. And so, again, it was nice to see that goal.
Yeah, beautiful play, nice setup. Bank gets a little bit of redemption there. Still waiting for quotes to come out of the locker room on this one, so it should be interesting to see what goes on there. But nonetheless, Kappa Kahkonen, 26 saves, 28 shots. Nice little win for him as the Sharks get a victory. The first time in Tempe, first time at Mullet Arena. Guys, this is kind of really the first big time we really have gotten to see Mullet Arena, especially since it's the Sharks. I mean, granted, we've seen some out-of-market broadcasts, but for a 4,000-ish seat arena, which I think we could probably say is comparable to what the Barracuda playing at Tech CU, nice to see. And you hope that the Tempe City Council gets everything improved for the Coyotes' new arena. But what did you take? Anything that stood out in your mind just watching the broadcast? Felix, we'll start with you.
Honestly, I kind of think it's a unique experience. Like it's an unusual experience for like obviously an NHL for an NHL team, but it provides for something that you don't quite see every day. And honestly, it looks fun, I would say. And it's to me, I think I love it, and it definitely adds to the atmosphere, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, speaking on the atmosphere, it's got that college kind of raucous feel to it. Very loud. You can almost hear individual chanters. A couple of times they had a couple of chants where you could hear it, blaring through on the broadcast. So it is a unique environment for sure, and a nice little niche for the next couple of years here while Tempe's getting the grounds together, and while the Arizona Coyotes are putting together that massive redevelopment project.
And it's
I think to me it had very old school vibes. Kind of felt old LA Forum or Long Island, like Nassau, because just of the way in which the crowd kind of almost seems on top of the and very clear to the ice. That is one thing that I did notice, and I think the broadcast team even said it too. It was just how close they were to the action, which if you get a chance to go to Texas, I think that gives you that experience as well, and you can really see just how fast action is.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And like again, it's for an NHL team, it's not something you'd see, but for like other sort of lower level, college level, minor leagues, it's you're definitely used to that kind of thing. And so yeah, no, I mean, and good on the Yotes, and hopefully hopefully that arena in Tempe it gets done soon.
Well,
Yeah.
it'll be nice to have a good play for them, and
Right.
not be so far from the city.
Yeah, in the middle of Timbuktu. I mean, yes, it's a destination for the football team, the Cardinals, that call Glendale home. But that'd be a little more closer to the proximity of downtown Phoenix. Would be very nice for the Coyotes. I know they get crapped on a lot for their stuff, and I know Canada's just dying to relocate them to Quebec. So it's nice to see. I hope they pull this off. I mean, the league has put a ton of money, push, dedication to Arizona. Of course, being one of the big
Batman has Batman has basically invested the rest of his commission job as a commissioner to Arizona, so it better work for him. So
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to be tied to the Sun Belt expansion for sure, and I think a lot banks on him, or I think a lot banks on the success of the Sun Belt franchises on what his legacy is going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, I would hate to think of how this team doesn't get the Tempe deal done. If they don't get it done, I mean, I'm sure then you really see the relocation talks really blow up in that form. So Sharks win this one 4-2 over the Coyotes. They get a nice victory, and now they pack up their bags. They'll head to L.A. for this one. Guys, anything in particular that stuck out in your mind? I mean, I know we talked about Kevin Labanc doing, getting his ice time slashed down. I mean, he had 11-18 ice time. Mikey Easymont gets 9 minutes in, but defensively, Carlson, Ferraro, Magna over the 20-minute mark on this one. Any worries going into LA on Wednesday night? Felix?
I guess I'll go first. So I think honestly, I mean, we kind of know that this organization likes to tax their top defensemen, but I don't know that I have too many worries. But like, it's just for me, it's just if the defensemen can do their job, if Ferraro especially can do his job well. I know he's had a rough go at it. I think. I honestly think again, if the defense does what they do, then they're in a good spot, or what they're supposed to do, then they're in a good spot rather.
I'll just tell you this: if Matt Benning sports larger than 20 tomorrow night, or Scott plays more than 20 minutes, then shit's gonna be bad.
No, that's true too. Yeah.
Like that's how the apocalypse has come, right? Or at least that's how the conspiracy of trying to tank is happening. But no, in all seriousness though, I think a team will come in tomorrow, probably get handed a big L. I just think Los Angeles is really buying into this good of vets and young kids, and it's a tall task for the Sharks to have to come to that on a back-to-back. That's for sure.
Yeah. Second set back-to-backs too. Sorry, go ahead, Felix.
Yeah, no, I was just agreeing. Like these, we've known all year that the Sharks D isn't great. So like, I mean, fingers crossed that nothing disastrous happens against LA, but you never know with this team.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and LA is also a physical team, and they're gonna tax and grind and play very low and heavy. And if the team doesn't have their crap together in the defensive zone, it's going to be a long night because you know how they just love to cycle and just keep it and grind it and grind it and grind it some more. So again, if you're not prepared defensively, then I don't think that the team is going to track meet you, if that makes any sense, right? I don't think you're going to look at them and say, oh, tomorrow's going to be all about skating. No, tomorrow's going to be about being strong on your skates and being strong with your stick. It's going to be a physical kind of grind.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting one. Also, the debut for the Sharks on TNT. They finally are getting on the Turner broadcast, so that'll be interesting to look out for that one. We finally are getting some comments from the locker room here. Shang, thank you very much. Labanc actually quipped about his benching. Thank his strong response plus the win. Quote, I felt like I was serving a life sentence. He said he took the full blame for letting Christian Fischer get ahead of him for the breakaway goal. That's the one that made it 2-1 after in the first period. Quinn actually said, I like the way he responded. So nice to see Coach giving some kudos after a player responded to his benching there on that one.
Yeah. He just needs to like keep doing the good and keep developing good habits and not like revert to bad habits. So yeah.
So good on Banker to get back into this one for sure. Some of the comments in the chat, I guess we're already trying to dismantle the team here. Hot Wheels, Labanc, Bones, and Nieto, all tradable assets. Laura was asking about who was the one that's left while wearing the C. If I'm not mistaken,
That's right.
Yeah, Nolan. Todd Gill was traded to St. Louis in '98. Bob Airey was traded in '95, and I'm sure it happened in the off season for Jeff Odgers. So, so there was that one. So, it's not typical for the Sharks to either strip them of the C or get traded, I guess. But I'm not sure if Logan Couture is going to be on that list just yet going on here. But, trading players, trading big name players is what's been on the mind lately, I think, for everybody, with Sharks fans everywhere. Mainly because, there is a glorious piece that's sitting, and I think last week pretty much solidified his first overall ranking in Connor Bedard. We put it as a poll question in our chat, so if you haven't already, go ahead and jump in on it. But are you on Team Tank? This is going to begin, I think, coming up a stretch where the Sharks are going to be going up against some tough competition. And got to ask, guys, Landi, I'll start with you, Team Tank or not. I mean, of course, we'd love the Sharks to win. We would love the Sharks to win it all down the road sometime in our lifetimes, preferably when I'm not completely have all white hair. But Landi, what says you?
So I think I've been pretty in saying, type year, you need to have good habits, instill good habits. You need to understand what you have and what pieces are going to be part of the history going, or part of the decision making process going forward. And for Mike Greer, really, this is the time to really roll up the sleeves and go to work at the roster. I think that this is going to be, this will be his first trade deadline in the GM spot. We'll see how active he is come trade deadline. If he is going to be a person he's going to try and recoup assets, or if he's going to be more of a, hey, we can try and do this retool, whatever you want to call it, this new nation of the Sharks. We get this wall still trying to compete. And I think that that's what we've been told this whole time, that it's they want to have both feet, one foot in one door and the other foot in the other part of the door. I think for me, the case scenario would be this year, if you can try to be second, third overall, insofar as from the bottom in the standings, give yourself a good shot to get that number one lottery ball. Build through the draft. We got some pieces coming up that can probably maybe 1 to 2 seasons more of ripening, and you can really count on them as being NHLers. And if Boudard happened to fall into the Sharks' lap, you can pair him with William Eklund and with Thomas Bordeleau, and drastically increases around time for the team to be again, right? So if you bottom out really hard this season and really buy into that philosophy, it could be quicker than expected. Now, I continue to do this, play the best that we can and see where the chips may fall insofar as drafting order, then I think that there's going to be years of mediocrity ahead, because as good as 9th and 10th overall picks are, it's not a number 1 overall, right? I mean, you're never going to capture that kind of talent where the Sharks normally draft, and they haven't really had good position in drafting since last year was really has been the best positioning wise that the Sharks have been in quite a while. So I think for me, it would be try to bottom out as badly as you can this season to try to make that reset go quicker.
I agree. I mean, it's all about what Mike Grier, what the mindset is there in that front office, right? You want to assess the situation, see what you have, and then go from there. And in the past, under Doug Wilson, there how do I put this? There have been times where it's they should be, resetting and getting more pieces out, but they haven't. But Mike Grier has shown to be more aggressive. We'll see what the returns are on the contracts he does decide to trade. I know there are a number of free agents coming up for the Sharks. So that's going to be a very interesting situation for Grier. And as I pull it up now, I know Timo Meyer's a very, very interesting one. He's due to be an RFA after essentially that's going to be next season. He's going to be an RFA. And then let's see, Nick Bonino is also going to be a UFA next season. So it's going to be the front office is going to have to make some tough decisions. And so would it be wise for them to bottom out? I agree. I think so. But I'm of the let's see what happens approach, and the players don't take, management does.
And that's very true, Felix. I think you definitely always see that desire from the player to leave everything air out, and that's what they train their whole lives to do. So yeah, I don't bet on players. It's where management, how they kind of stack the deck for the coach, and right, I think the coach is still trying to still trying to mark on the team. So it's kind of a lot of things are in flux right now, and I just think a lot of things aren't really defined yet. But I think a good way to define the team, a good way to really understand the direction of what the team is going to become trade line, because then we're going to be able to see what type of GM is Greer. Is he cautious, or is he protective of his own players, or does he have the ability to fleece type trades? I mean, for me, to start the discussion has to be at 2 firsts and a a blue chipper. I think this is a player that is a point per game player. He plays with snarl, can score, can assist, can play on your play, can mix it up.
And he's got a lot of skill. How many times has he tried to dangle?
Yeah, and I think Jerk brought it up really poignantly on Technologist the other night. Was it'll take the Sharks years to try and find that player again. So if you don't get at least, like I said, at least 2 firsts and a draft, or in a prospect of some notoriety, that's got to be where the conversation starts. If you get anything less than that, I think I'm absolutely in Jerk's corner. You're going to spend years trying to find that player. Yep. Others have always liked that kind of player. Go back to Buster, or go back to Chloe, or even before that, some of the sluggers that used to carry John Thornton. They've always liked to have one player who's got both a nasty personality but the ability to score on you, and really have tried to make it emblematic of the team plays. If you get rid of that player, if you get rid of Timo Meier, you're going to regret it as soon as you've got enough of a nucleus that can from the Barracuda to offset the score that we've got now. I mean, think about it. If the Sharks could somehow bottom out this season and get Boudard and add Boudard to Eklund and Thomas Borderlow, that's a line right there, and you bring up that entire line and put it on a third line, or you could extract the pieces out of it and plug in the holes like a Matt Nieto, a second line Matt Nieto wouldn't play there any longer. So because I look down the road to LA and I look at how they kept some core older players and then surround them with talent, and just how quickly their turnaround has been. I mean, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that they've been out for 5 years straight. How long is their playoff?
LA, well, they made it last year. They went 7 games against Edmonton.
Right. So it had, I mean, Sharks will have a longer playoff list streak in the span of this build window, right? So I don't know. I just look at what Rob Blake has done and how he's surrounded, some core fixture pieces there, good drafting, good development, and is able to, have his cake and eat it too. I think that's the way at this point, with the way the contracts are, that has to be the model that you go for, because I don't see how you can get rid of some of these big ticket items with how how much money they've got tied up, invested. So I mean, again, that to me is the only real option here, is to try to bottom out, or at least extract as much value as you can from the draft, to try to adjust the mix on the big club.
Yeah, I mean, Jerk made the good point that if you're going to be trying to go after a Timo Meier, to replace Timo Meier, why would you do that? Oh, Ian saying Kings have made the playoffs 3 times since winning the cup in 2014.
Yeah, so then that means they wouldn't have had a longer streak of 5 years.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's a rebuilding process, and again, it's also a significant one. If you were to move Timo Meier, yes, you would get a boatload of assets, but at the same time, how far back are you going to tear it down if you're moving one of your best goal scorers and one of them, and easily the one of the leading shot takers in the league. I think only Pasta in Boston is shooting more on net than Timo is. So something
and I could say fan favorite, right? I mean, I think
sure.
He's got probably more cachet in the fan base between Timo and Cole than I think Carlson and any other player, name X here. Like, I think, Turtle are your two of the players that I think you can look to as homegrown talent, drafted talent. The guys that you put on season ticket when if they did printings of season tickets anymore, those are the faces that you put on season tickets, right? So we also have to kind of respect the fact that there's still a audience, that they've still got to put players on the ice for a product. So again, if you're able to extract at least 3 pieces, then you can start to make the argument that's sweet enough to move on from Timo. But if I come on here the day, the game after the trade deadline, and I hear that Mike Grier traded him for a first, a third, and some C tier prospect, that's gonna gut us, because again, it's a fan favorite, but it's a point per game type player, and it's the exact type of player that you want to embody the way the Sharks play.
The other thing too is kind of,
I mean, yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go finish.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I mean, because then you're just gonna be back at what Dirk said, looking for that player for 10 years, trying to chase that player down.
And that's the tough part. Go ahead, Felix. I'll let you get your thoughts in on this one before we start wrapping this one up.
Yeah, no, I do agree that you're talking about players that you that are highly marketable, and those types of players, you need to get the appropriate value out from them, and but at the same time, like like you said, Andy, like if you trade a guy, and I know Jerk has also said this too, like if you trade Timo Meier, that's gonna set your franchise back quite a bit, and you're gonna be looking for like the next type of that particular player, and it's it's gonna be a very long process. It's gonna be when you're gonna wish you hadn't pulled the trigger on the trade, and not just that, it's gonna be like as a fan, you're gonna be like, okay, so we're just gonna be in for more pain then. It's it's really important, I think, that the Sharks really further establish their identity, so with a guy like Timo, and just go from there and see what else they can what else they can do.
Yeah, in Hot Wheels, at the draft is like a off lottery, and you already know what it is. And I think for me, I kind of circle back to 2 first being 2 scratches at the best odds in best, and an A player, or at least an A prospect, where this is a guy that's got a little bit more of a track record, maybe a guy who's either in college or could be AHL or overage, or but somebody who you've already got a little bit of a body of work around, and can kind of see what he's going to project as. But I mean, guys, I don't want this to become Coyotes of the Pacific. You know what I mean? Like this is what the Coyotes do whenever they get a superstar type player, whether it was OEF Chikrin now or name here, but they just walk, or not are not retained, and that could be a little mental value, yes, but I think it shows like stability of ownership, stability of the franchise, and it's a pact between a player and an organization saying, hey, look, if you invest money in me, I'm gonna invest money in you, and that goes a long way to showing organizational strength.
I think you're right. And I think another thing that I don't believe we've mentioned also is that if this team like really sets the tone early on in their rebuild, retool, whatever you want to call it, and Greer gets guys who can actually actually has that work ethic, actually has sort of that snarl, that sort of killer instinct that you want to see every night. I mean, maybe then more fans will fill the seats again. We want a good product, right? So, I mean, This is the front office has some, like I said, some very big decisions to make. And if they screw this up, it's not going to be pretty for the next couple of years.
But
at least.
But what's pretty? Daniil Gushchin scoring with a minute left in regulation. The Barracuda have tied it at 2 against the best, at least one of the best teams in the AHL in the Coachella Valley Firebirds. So we'll keep an eye on that as we wrap things up. In case you missed anything or want to watch this again, check us out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Odyssey. Of course, if you're on YouTube and you're watching us on the replay, leave a comment down below as to what you thought of tonight's game. Are you a member of Team Tank or not? Or you just want to see this team get the job done and be more of a playoff contender as much as possible on that one. So check us out, and always on tealtownusa.com. So with that, he is at Erik Landi, ErikLandi. Felix Talks Puck on the Twitter machine. Your last words. I'll start with you, Landi.
Hey, you know what? Good on Gushy for getting a goal. It's a guy that we want to do well. And those clutch kind of goals goes a long way development.
All right, and Felix.
Look, the Sharks, it's going to be an interesting. I mean, we've said this so many times over the past few years, but it's going to be very interesting. Next couple of years, trade deadline, even just to see like what Greer does, how this team shapes up. And whether or not we get a tire fire or whether or not we get a team that actually knows what the heck it's doing, I'm along for the ride. So, but also I do want to correct you, Landy. It's Bedard, not Boudard.
You gotta get that pronunciation right, man. If we're going for it, it's the lottery one, and hopefully one of us has won the lottery tonight for deed. So for Felix and Landy, I am Erik. I'm at Puckeye14 on the Twitter and the Instagram. We will be back with you tomorrow, Wednesday night, Sharks and Kings. It'll be on TNTs, which means we'll be your only live and interactive post game. So thanks for watching, everyone, and until next time, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal. Have a good night, everyone. We will see you after Sharks and Kings. And as we go, it's still tied 2-2 in overtime between Coachella Valley and San Jose Barracuda. All the best. Good night, everyone.